You know, we all have that dream of exploring the most beautiful, untouched corners of our planet. But what if there was a way to do that without leaving a scar? Well, today, we're going to decode ecotourism. It's a whole philosophy of travel that's all about protecting the very places we love to visit.
I mean, look at that. It's this exact kind of beauty that pulls us to travel, right? These incredible landscapes, crystal clear waters, and amazing forests. And that urge we feel to connect with nature, it's not just a personal thing. It's literally the engine that drives the entire global tourism industry. Okay, but here's the really uncomfortable question we have to ask. What if our love for these places is the very thing that's destroying them? Our footsteps, the hotels we stay in, just the sheer number of us. Are we loving these destinations to death? It's a tough question, but it's one we absolutely have to face.
So to figure out the solution, we've got to get a handle on the problem first. And the relationship between tourism and the environment, well, it's a classic double-edged sword. Think of it like a really delicate two-way street. On one hand, a healthy, beautiful environment is tourism's greatest asset. It's what draws people in. But on the other hand, when tourism isn't managed well, it can become its own worst enemy, causing the pollution and habitat loss that will eventually just drive everyone away.
Let's start with the bright side. A pristine environment is a huge economic boost. I mean, just picture the beaches of Langkawi in Malaysia. They're not just gorgeous to look at. They're the foundation of the entire local economy. These natural wonders become a destination's brand, and that creates jobs and a unique identity for them on the world stage.
But then, of course, there's the dark side. When tourism turns into over-tourism, the consequences can be really severe. We start to see pollution piling up on beautiful islands, deforestation from building way too many resorts, and sometimes irreversible damage to fragile places, like the incredible coral reefs at Sipadan Island.
So, what's the answer here? How do we get to see the world without wrecking the very things we came to see? This is exactly where the idea of ecotourism comes in. It's presented as a potential solution for traveling more responsibly. All right, so this is the official definition from the International Ecotourism Society. And trust me, every single word in here matters. It's not just about going to see nature. It has to actively conserve the environment, genuinely respect the local culture, and this part is so important, it has to directly benefit the people who actually live there.
So let's break that down, make it a bit simpler. Real ecotourism is always based in nature. But it's not just about looking at wildlife. It's about actively respecting it and respecting the local culture too. And crucially, the money you spend has to stay in the community. It can't just be funneled away by some big corporation. And finally, it's all about quality over quantity, small groups that leave as little trace as possible.
Really, it all boils down to these three core goals. Number one, protect the environment. That's a given. Number two, educate the visitors. You want to turn tourists into advocates for conservation. And number three, empower the local communities. They're the true guardians of these places, so we have to make sure they're getting real, tangible benefits. Now, all of this sounds amazing in theory, doesn't it? But with so many travel companies and tours out there claiming to be eco-friendly, how can you actually spot the real deal? Well, here's a practical checklist you can use.
Think of this as your filter. A true ecotour isn't just in nature. It actively helps conserve it, maybe through park fees that go to restoration projects. It has to make sure that local people are your guides and your hosts, not just workers in the background. And honestly, it should leave you knowing more than you did when you arrived. If a tour seems to fail on any of these points, especially if it feels like a huge commercial operation, it's probably not genuine ecotourism.
But of course, it's not always that simple. The popularity of ecotourism has actually created its own set of problems, and it's really important that we're aware of the pitfalls.
And that brings us to a huge issue in this industry. Have you ever heard of the term greenwashing?
To put it simply, greenwashing is just false advertising. It's when a company spends way more time and money on marketing itself as eco-friendly than it does on actually being sustainable. They're basically just using the eco label as a marketing gimmick without doing any of the hard work.
So, what happens when ecotourism is managed badly, or when it's just greenwashing in disguise? What's the result?
Well, the result is both ironic and tragic. You end up right back where you started. These eco-destinations become overcrowded. The noise from boats disturbs the very wildlife people paid to see. Waste starts piling up, And what began as a really well-intentioned idea can just turn into another unregulated, mass tourism trap which defeats the entire purpose.
So, that leaves us with the ultimate question, doesn't it? Ecotourism offers this powerful idea, but it requires a real commitment from the tour operators and from us, the travelers. So as you plan your next adventure, think about this. How will you make sure the only things you take are pictures and the only things you leave behind are footprints?